Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here, Thursday, March the 2nd. Now we're in reading from the book of Esther. I love Esther. She was such a strong individual. She had her weaknesses, her fears, and yet she was willing to open herself up and overcome those with God's help. A very courageous person. Now she knows what she has to do. Her uncle Mordecai said, you got to go to the king, you got to plead for us, otherwise we're all going to be slaughtered by Haman, this vicious, nasty, evil person who wants to slaughter all the Jews because they won't bow down to him. Arrogant man. So, and Esther's scared, naturally, because you can't go to the king without being summoned. So what does she do? She doesn't hide in a hole. She doesn't bury her head in the sand. She doesn't wilt. What does she do? Because Mordecai knows that she needs to be encouraged and pushed, right? He doesn't pat her on the back and say, poor girl. He says, no, you have to do this. So what does she do? This is very important, when we're raising your children. Sometimes they do need a pat on the back and need a bit of coddling, but not too much. They need to be encouraged and they need to be pushed forward. And, sometimes you'll make mistakes, but at least you're trying to push them in the right direction, right? So, she's got a massive responsibility and a huge task ahead of her. What does she do? She prays. All right, she prays. She prayed to the Lord, the God of Israel, and said, oh my Lord, you are our only king. And she also fasted as well and afflicted her body with real penance, physical penances. Oh my Lord, you are our only king, our king. Help me, who am alone and have no helper but you, for my danger is in my hand. Ever since I was born, I have heard in the tribe of my family that you, O Lord, took Israel out of all the nations. And a little bit further down, put eloquent speech into my mouth before the lion. The lion is the king. Okay, so again, this is such a powerful example. It's so important that we read these true stories, from ancient Israel, because it's not just sort of going back into the past and that's a nice story, but it's being encouraged in our present situation, how to overcome difficult situations in today, that we face today. Many times when we know we have to make difficult decisions and the odds seem all against us, many times we forget to pray. That's precisely what we need to do. It doesn't mean we're guaranteed, an outcome that we agree with 100%. But prayer actually opens our heart to the essential virtues like fortitude and prudence. And, like she says, just put into my mouth the right words to say to the king. So that what you desire, Lord, the salvation of your people, and of course my people as well, is going to be achieved. And the interesting thing about this, and this is something also going into the gospel, that we need to pay attention to, is she doesn't see this light from heaven. She doesn't go, have this wonderful interior sensation like, bubbles going off in her mind. It all appears to be extraordinarily normal. She prays, she fasts, she does penance. I think she even put on sackcloth. She really afflicts herself to prepare herself, for this meeting that's going to determine the outcome of her people. But nothing extraordinary happens. She just does it, and in faith she goes to the king. Okay, so that's, so we don't look for these incredible manifestations of the supernatural entering into our life. We pray in faith. So I went on too long there. But, and it sort of leads into, the gospel. Oh, it does. Gathered from the Matthew chapter 7, gathered on the hillside, Jesus continues to teach, ask and it will be given you, search and you will find, knock on the door will be open for you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who searches finds, and for everyone who knocks the door will be opened. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we'll get everything we ask for. However, if we persevere in prayer, God will teach us what we need to ask. And if we do ask with sincere faith, then we will be granted what we're asking for. But, as St. Augustine says, work as if everything depended on you, pray as if everything depended on God. There's no contradiction here. There's no, we really do have to do everything. No, we actually do have to do our part. And it doesn't mean we're going to get exactly what we're asking for in the way that we're asking for it when we're asking for it. It may be something else that actually comes about, because you and I see right here. That's what we're asking for. God sees, I can't even go beyond the scope of this, he sees like my arms quite wide. He sees the whole picture of reality from Adam and Eve right till the end of the book of Revelation, all temporal time, all temporality. God sees the whole thing. So we're asking here, God sees everything. So our task is to be faithful here. Yes, we may be asking for this, or we may be asking for something that maybe will only come about after we're dead. Children come back to the faith and so on. Again, our task, as Mother Teresa said, is to be faithful, not to be successful. It's important to ask. That's the way God made us. God requires that we use the tongue that we have, the mind that He's given us, and to ask with faith. That if it's in accord with God's will, and it's obviously never going to violate anyone's freedom, that we will be granted what we ask for. God bless you.